Like Toby mentioned, we've recently kicked off this board under the direction and participation with Project 202, and so we've had our first meeting, and one of the goals of that group and what we're trying to accomplish is really to collaborate with each other and learn from each other and understand how we can bring XD to our organizations and help any peers and learn from peers. So I actually look forward to future events where I can learn from folks in this room, additional folks on the board, and however that goes. So I've put together today a concept where I believe that if your culture, your internal culture, whatever domain you're over, whether it's you're a CIO, a CTO, in charge of a dev team, in charge of a marketing department, really anything you're in charge of, and I would even argue kind of in charge of your life, really, we'll talk more about that, but you can apply XD, the XD framework, to pretty much anything. And what I'm bringing today, so let me just set this up. So I love the XD framework because it is a real focus on how are people experiencing you as a leader, as a department, as someone you serve in your role, whether it's personal, professional. It really doesn't matter. But when I look at it for my role at Ryan, I'm in what's called shared services. So we serve people who need technology, whether it's a laptop or an application or a network or pretty much anything that has a light on it and plugs in. They need support from my team. And when I think about that, my theory is that it would be really difficult to deliver that if you don't yet first have a great understanding of kind of what it is and how everything you do, impacts that experience. And so I'd argue that if it's not within your culture, in your group, or at your company, or whatever that may be, I'm not sure you'll be as successful as you can to deliver that for your end users. So I'm going to share a little bit about kind of a problem we've solved here at Ryan and what we did to kind of improve our XD. Now the example I'm going to be bringing you is kind of on our infrastructure side, which is not exactly applicable to software design, but I've got my software team here today in the room, and we've got some really great major apps that are under rewrite. So maybe if I weren't first, I could also show how that translates on some of these core apps that are some going live within the next few weeks, and then obviously our roadmap is in motion here. So first I want to say that when Ryan as a company is very XD oriented. We are, to borrow Rackspace's term, we're fanatical about our customer. I have my hair most days. But we're fanatical about our customer experience, and we measure that very meticulously. Our service delivery teams, their comp is tied to it. Our comp is tied to our own internal metrics as well, and I'll share those as well. So this is what's called a Net Promoter Score. It's an industry standard of kind of, do your customers like you? Would they use you again? And you can kind of see, while we're a much younger company, we compare fairly well to some really large players in the space. So this chart's self-explanatory. I won't really read it to you, but you can see we kind of measure up fairly well against some of the long-standing companies that you see here. And we like to say we're an elite domain performer in our space. We really, our CEO down drives that culture very prominently within our firm, and make sure that we operate, and he smartly ties our comp to it, right? So, we have high incentive to perform in all areas. And the reason I want to set this stage is because some of the things that I'm going to share with you, when I first came on board at Ryan, we had a discrepancy in what our data said versus what our customers said. And so I want to make sure I'm not talking about Ryan proper. Ryan proper, hits it out of the park, and that's on our service delivery side where we're serving clients. We've got our employees. Ryan as a culture is very XD. This is taken straight off of Glassdoor, and I know I've got some friends here in the room from other competitor firms, so this is a sales slide that we use internally to kind of say this is Ryan's culture, and that culture translates into performance for you as our customer. So this is right off a Glassdoor, and you can kind of see how it is. Our culture and values rate very high. Our work-life balance. If you need a job, if you want a job, you should Google on Ryan.com, because we have a concept called My Ryan, and it's really industry leading, especially in our tax space. Provides employees a lot of freedom in their work. And you can see that we score very, very well here too. And my point on this slide is this. Ryan has that culture of experience driven, not only for our customers, but for our employees. I can tell you our CEO listens to every single, we have more than a couple, many feedback channels throughout our organization, and he does answer everyone personally. And if it's regarding technology, I get it, and we try to solve that. And you'd be surprised what all we see. But my point is, he cares about what our employees care about. And I think that sets that culture from the top and helps us be better. So we also survey our customers at the end of an engagement. So after we perform work for you and return millions of dollars to your firm because you've been inappropriately taxed. Of course, I'm like, well, it's pretty easy to make near a 6.0 on a scale of 6 when you're giving back millions, Who's unhappy about that? But we do enjoy a very high score, and again, it's tied to comp on these delivery teams. So if you don't hit the mark, then you don't get your bonus. So it's pretty binary here. So IT, we're in what's called shared services, and we basically serve all employees of Ryan. And we're a global firm, so can be many different countries, many different offices within the states, and so forth. And we, as a group, we have 3 main drivers. And again, our comp is also tied to this. So we have what we call our KPIs, our key performance indicators. I'm sure every single one in this room does something that contributes to that for your firm or your group. And when I joined, we were always green. And I was like, yes, that is so awesome. We're 100%, we are 99 point this, and I was just like, I'm thinking, we're pretty big stuff, And we also have these goals. And these are individual goals that ideally map to some sort of overall strategy within the team. And when I looked in the history of IT's goals, we were above 100%. So I'm like, well, that's awesome, and this is super awesome. But then when I looked at our internal client satisfaction scores, the people we were serving didn't think as highly of us. And I was like, huh? Like seriously, that just, I don't get it. What you talking about, Willis? So I said, okay, well, as you have to do often, show me the data. How are we getting this wonderful, wonderful news? And this is straight math here. So here's our benchmark. Our goal is 5.5. Well, you can kind of explain 2011. Well, it was new. Maybe they didn't get it, or some confusion on the survey. We started inching up and making some progress, and then we hit kind of a brick wall. Now I feel inclined to, put in this little star here because something happened at Ryan during this year, and we bought a company larger than ourselves. And that was painful for many. And I think some of at least on the support teams, struggled to kind of keep up with what that meant. We had some integration challenges. And again, I wasn't here, but you can see it in every single decision that was made. And then you can kind of see, started to recover a little bit, but still struggling. And then when I joined in the second half of 2015, so this is my starting point, I started in October, so I like to say, well, I had 2 months worth of upswing on this chart. So I like to take a little credit for that, although I'm completely teasing. The timing was way too low. We survey at the end of October, so I had about 3 weeks under my belt. So the good news is it was improving a little bit. So in addition to everyone scoring us, they get to write in comments. And this is pretty much across the board. They were saying things like, I like IT, they're a really bunch of nice folks, but when we call them, they don't answer. I was like, oh, That's terrible. Yeah, so look at this one. And again, we're all friends here. So the goal is to share an experience that helps lift each other up. So please, don't judge, because you might have some you might have some issues there too in your own shops. But can you imagine being locked out of your computer and not getting a call back for a day or 2 or 3? Yeah, so just like, oy. So we've since put in some automation to kind of help them self-serve. So hopefully we won't get many of these comments again. But across the board, it was basically, we need help and you're not there. And so we said, okay, well, what are we going to do? So I pulled in my then support manager over the support desk. And again, it's the basic function within IT, right? Something breaks, you got to call the support desk. And I always like to say they're never calling to say hi. They're calling when, which I don't know why personally. You guys should call your help desk and just ask them how their day is. They'd really probably die of shock. But so they call us and they're under high duress. So I sat that manager down and I said, what is going on? Why would they say, why do they say that we don't help them and we don't answer the phone? And either anecdotally or Freudian slippishly, they reply, well, that's because over 2,000 people are calling us. I thought to myself, are they? They might be. I mean, surely at one time or another, but we're not overwhelmed daily by 2,000 calls. Surely we can know that. We own the phone system. We own the tracking system. Let's see what we can see. And so we went on this quest of information. And these are just some very high-level, simple charts. But one of the things that we found is in the lower left-hand side, this is our busiest time. This is when the people are calling us. So our staff was actually, they like to work the early shift. So that way they can get out and pick their kids up from school, and we're family friendly. We're My Ryan. We're all these things. And so we were like, great, come in at 6. Well, this chart is not that doesn't even register at 6 a.m. So nobody was calling us at 6 a.m. The other thing that was kind of going on is a lot of them were lunch buddies, which was great. We love lunch buddies, But when you're in this certain type of role and we see these call volumes peak, we have to adjust our schedules and do something different. We made some, I'll get into that on what we did about it. But so we tracked every single thing about them. And it was really unpopular at first. And I would say when you rip the cover off that data set and get kind of really hone in and put that lens on a group, on a concept, it's really uncomfortable for the team. So that was just one thing. So we went in and we said, what is our data saying? And so our data was saying that the time the people needed us, we were basically unavailable. There's a couple more charts, but they are serious eye charts of this metric of when they're calling and how long our agents are on the phone, and you can kind of see those gaps. And those of you in firms that do have either call centers or any type of, you can never afford to fully staff for the peak. So that's why sometimes you call and you're going to hold, because you can't have the capabilities to take 2,000 calls at one time. It's not efficient. So I said, okay, great, I got that data set. So I kind of know why we're not experiencing great service from that perspective. And then I went and I personally met with every senior leader, at least in the Dallas office. They fly in a couple times a month, and met with many of them and said, what do you think of us? I wanted to know. I wanted to get their experience. I mean, I can read what you might think about us, but it's anonymous, so I don't know if it's you specifically. So I just sat down with them and said, what do you like? What do you not like? Very, similar in a data collection perspective that you would do in, experience-driven software, right? What do you need? What does it need to do? How do you use it? And I wanted to know those same things about my group. And I got what I expected. I got some kind of similar themes, like, you guys are the nicest group. Like, seriously, you're so nice. And I was like, okay, that's great. So what I said was, I'm like, I'm nice. We're all nice, and I want to be nice, but I really want to be awesome. so like it's almost like the yes but, so like, yes, you're really good, but you don't pick up the phone, So I kind of had to take that message back to my team and said, they like us and we're really nice, but we're not really performing how we could. And to their defense, I would say, can you imagine a company and that experiences that level of growth, and then you go into like a survival mode to just integrate this giant elephant that you've consumed, and you're just trying to really get your job done. So you kind of, I think, in hindsight, you can certainly see how focus would be lost, and the metrics perhaps didn't keep up with the changing needs of the business, and so it was lost in the data, and that's why they kind of sought new leadership and not sought something a little different. So I gathered that interview data and I just shared it with my team, and we made some adjustments there. And so here's kind of what we did. We pretty much took the cover off and changed pretty much every single thing we did. We revamped our entire operating procedure, and in a full honesty and disclosure, we're not yet finished. I would say we've solved kind of the most impactful problem first, with that support desk to make sure that our service delivery folks were fully empowered. I mean, get this, these teams, they generate the revenue, service our clients so that we get a paycheck. And as I always like to say, so we can have new toys, right? So they're our favorite, they have to be up and running. And so we fixed that first because it was the most critical thing. So I would say I've got a lot of my software team here in the room, and we've partnered with Project 202 on some meetings. They were kind enough to share some of their experience with us, and we're working with them on a couple of things, but we're translating that now into the software side, and how can we enhance these major apps that our internal clients use, meaning our these are financial applications, these are our invoicing application, all these really things that are kind of custom to Ryan, and really focusing on that. And I've got two folks in the room that are actually actively rewriting those major applications for us. So we're now a little different as a team, and we're not only interested in delivering just a piece of software. It's not about the red button or the blue button. It's more about, because I don't want them to just like it and think it's okay. I want it to improve their life. And that sounds so dramatic, but like, I hate hearing when people hate their tech. I mean, I am shocked, and I'm actually saddened as a person, because I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Who gave it to you? We did? Oh, I'm so sorry. Let us fix that. Let us have another chance, quite honestly, which we're able to do. We established our internal KPIs. I love firm KPIs. They're wonderful and amazing, but they're way too high level to really know exactly how your team's delivering. And so, and that doesn't feel good either to folks when you put them up on the Jumbotron and you've done this each day, you've hit those metrics, but across the board in infrastructure and as well as in application development, we track, if we commit to X number of points in a sprint, we've got to deliver them. Now things change, and that's cool, but the goal is the goal, and it's not a arbitrary line that we can move at will. We have to do what we say we're going to do, because that's how you build up that trust in your group, in your firm, and in your teams. We also had to make, we did shorten our SLAs. They were unusually long, right? Oh, if you're locked out, I'll get back to you. Oh no, if they're locked out, it's like run, find a friend, call me, call anyone, but pick up the phone if you don't get what you need. And we now measure those. We have specific. We took advantage of our own tools. So we know when people are touching tickets and when they're answering. We know when we deliver sprints on time and when we get to deliver more. And we know when we fall short. And we measure those. And we had to make some staff adjustments. We changed our schedules. I'm like, the whole team can't go to lunch, at the same time. How about I bring you lunch? Or, you can take turns or do something. And And we made adjustments in our expectations. You know, Ryan is no longer this smaller, you know, genteel place. You know, we're a bigger company, the expectations are higher, we're being measured on it, and that's what they're paying us to do. It's fair, if nothing else, right? And we set a department strategy. You know, what's Ryan doing? Great, love it. You know, what does that mean for us? Well, here's our strategy, and then we implemented and this would be a really boring slide to throw, so I spared you from it. But we have our IT roadmap and our project schedule, because if done well, that lines right up to your firm's strategy. And you have to include your blocking and tackling. You know, you've got some things that the firm, you know, does care about, but, you know, you care more because, you know, you're in charge of, you know, lots of other things. But and we share that with the team. You know, no one's unclear on what our work plate is. Now we still acquire companies, and, you know, want to cry knocks on our door last Friday afternoon. You know, so we all, you know, want to cry. You know, I'm kidding. But yeah, so we have to be flexible and adjust as well. And we introduced newsletters. One of the things we also heard when I sat down was just, you know, what do people do? You know, like, you know, they think we all are the same, and we're not. Thank you. You know, we have different skill sets and groups and departments and capabilities, but they didn't know what we were working on. So, and that's a real shame in our case, because we're working on lots of really wonderful things, and we've got you know, this entire roadmap. So we put out these quarterly newsletters, and really snippets, you know, because they're not going to read a long laundry list, but, you know, things we were doing, things that they cared about, and they were very well received, because they're like, oh, I had no idea you guys were thinking about this, or I had no idea that you cared about this, and we share our own KPIs in there, you know, so we really air our dirty laundry proactively. You know, here's what we're doing well, here's what we're not, but here's what we're doing about it, and it was very well received. And then at its basic level, we started doing what we said we were going to do, and that's a touch point at a time. You know, nothing will change a culture or a reputation like a consistent, you know, behavior. And you know, you're going to miss some, but the beauty is to have enough in that, you know, proverbial relationship capital bank, you know, that when you do screw it up, you know, it's not, you know, they don't withdraw their whole funds, you know. So that's kind of our goal. And then we took it kind of to a more fun level. And what I mean by that is we went to the people, right? So they always come to us, oh, this doesn't work, I need this, you know. So we're like, okay, great. And then we said, well, let's proactively go out and participate. You know, most companies here have a culture committee. You've got a fun thing that you do, or, you know, and IT people are kind of like, that sounds awful, you know. Like, I'm not opposed for all of you to do it, but I'm not interested. You know? So I said, oh no, everyone's interested, and this is what we're doing. So last Halloween, we decided to trick or treat our customers. So we dressed up like nerds, and we pushed a cart, and we had bags of candy, and lots of people in this room with me. We walked this entire building and handed out treat bags to 400 people. Yes, we made 400 treat bags for 400 people. And we also passed out these little contact cards. And the real version is laminated and has a hole punch, but I didn't have one of those to share. And so they can wear them on their Ryan badge. And we sent the message like, you know, we're not hiding from you. We want you to call us. And in fact, here's how you call us. You know, you can, you know, text us, call us, you know, send us a, you know, smoke signal, whatever you got. We're ready to come running. So we also included kind of some self-help links that they may not be aware of. This was a little self-serving, you know, remember you could do this by yourself. You don't have to call me. But, you know, it was very well received. And we didn't do it for any other reason than, you know, just to kind of change that mindset of really on my own team. You know, like, this is who we serve. You know, we can serve them in different ways, and, you know, we got a lot of laughs, and people took our pictures. And the one guy in the superhero, he still is mad at me today. So I was saying that we could be nerds, or we could be superheroes, and he was not paying attention, so he was technically his own superhero. He was not happy. but he still feels like we tricked him into wearing the superhero. I'm like, dude, you just didn't listen. Like, if you'd listened, you'd have got with the program. But anyway, we had a lot of fun. And then we won the Ryan Olympics. So we did this. This is what I would look like if I were the volleyball player. So I'm like, wow, I will never be 6'1" and in this great of shape, but it looks fun. And then, so we basically did this entire Ryan Olympics competition where we, worked together as a team. There's a really pretty funny video. I probably should have embedded some of it. It's pretty embarrassing stuff too, though, when you think about it. But, we participated and we did the same thing that, the finance team would do and the marketing team would do and all of these other fun groups. And so we showed that we weren't special, we weren't afraid, we weren't anything, but we wanted to contribute to the fun things that the firm was doing really on our behalf, and it was uncomfortable. I mean, trust me, part of the video is for doing synchronized swimming in a conference room, So that's pretty hard to do, by the way. And then we had we had 2 girls on the swim team, and like we had 2 girls and 2 boys. And so the men, just as anecdotally, you guys really need to like step it up, But they had no idea like what to do, so we had to drive everything, and they were like, well, I don't know what a swim move is, So we looked pretty ridiculous, but we were willing, and sure enough, the whole firm plays the video, and it's pretty tragic. But anyway, we won. So I like to say, I've never won the Olympics. I've never qualified for the Olympics, but now I can say that I have. And to take it back down to, so what did all these changes really do for us as a team? And, because that's all of our hard work and all of our stress, quite honestly, of the change process, it has to yield something. Or we're either wrong or we've got a lot of egg on our face to our own teams, quite honestly. But I was passionate about, if we will do what we say we do, we will see those results. Seems very basic, but again, you've got to keep everything in perspective. And, walking into a team, into a place where just the same old processes were going day after day, let alone the firm had completely changed in scope and direction. And we didn't change how we were doing our processes, so we kind of lagged behind. But you can see is that we achieved benchmark, and I have to explain the red line. They lowered the benchmark a little bit because this was the first time that it impacted compensation in a material way. It always was a component to it, but you were playing for high dollars at this point. So the firm said, I don't want to, inadvertently penalize folks where this will be a more material impact. And I will say Ryan's very good about that. If they're really changing their things, they do allow kind of enough change to occur. But even so, we didn't need the curve, in this now, we've got surveys coming up here in next month or so. So good thing I'm going first now. I'm ending on a high note. Hopefully we can continue it. But in all seriousness, the team was completely jazzed. I was completely jazzed because all of the stress of that change and just we changed some people. It was really difficult. And but we were right. At the end of the day, and it's for clarity, I don't need to be right. I need to have results for the people that we serve, and we did see that. So real quick, in its simplest form, we applied the XD framework to our entire department to see what needed to be changed. We've done it through the other divisions. This was just the simplest example because it has a pretty decent data set to work with, and it was the most impactful that we had based on our biggest pain point as a group at that time, almost 2 years ago. And we took action. We just kind of went, oh wow, that's terrible. We never call them back. We had to change a lot of things and take that action. And then we measured the results, and we do that every single day. Every day I get emails, and we're always looking for ways to change our metrics and see what else we can see. But the biggest thing we got from all that hard, painful work was that we got the results. And I would say that now we're not only nice, but now we're awesome as well. And we make mistakes still, as you can imagine. Life happens, and when we get that overload situation. But for the most part, we're known, and we have rebuilt our internal reputation and now we kind of better fit in with Ryan because we're more Ryanish now. Before it was kind of like, yeah, y'all are awesome, and we're just really nice. So now we too can be awesome. And so a couple of things to share, and apparently I'm not alone, right? So a lot of other people have challenges that they work with, whether they be in the software design space or really any other space. So one of the quotes is, we have all the data in the world. We know what they're doing, how they do it, and all these things, but we don't know why. And that's what, I really walked into that problem space. We had all these metrics, and one, they weren't accurate. So I'd always say validate your data, first and foremost. But, they didn't have any insight as to, what was going on outside of the building. So, and that's, inside the building. So. The other one is investing in user research is just about the only way to consistently generate a rich stream of data about customer needs and behaviors. It informs product managers, engineers, and just about everyone else. It forms the foundation of intuitive designs, indispensable products, and successful companies. And this is where, I really like this one because I like the just about everyone else. I believe you can apply this framework. I think you can apply it at home. What does your family need from you? What does your 7-year-old kid need from you? What experience are they experiencing you as a parent, as a worker, as a person? All those things. That's a whole other show. But and finally, observing users in person provides you with data that surveys and behavioral data simply can't. And this is where I could not reconcile, what I was seeing versus what I was reading. And that's because our data wasn't accurately reflecting what we were providing as a service. So I really, and you do need both. You need both. You need data, and then you need to validate that data, that experience with your customers, with your users, with your team. This applies all the way. Our team. I'm passionate. My team's here. We're. Well, I'll share my next slide. This is my summary. Every single thing we do, I don't care what it is, every single thing we deliver, every single thing we support every single day is an experience, for those around us and those we serve. So whether it's something so minor, it's kind of like the leadership concept. Well, everyone's a leader because someone's always watching, so, and recording in these days, so got to watch out for that. But a team, and again, this is my thesis summary, if you will. If you've got a team, if you've got a group that really is passionate about experience-driven results, then they're better poised to deliver it because they'll get it. And it's, I'm not saying it's easy because they then have to rely on interpreting proper data sets from their user groups, but they'll better deliver XD for you. And that's really it. So I thank you for your grace in letting me go first. And if you have any questions.
Lots of questions.
Oh, good grief. Well, hopefully I have lots of answers. So if not, I'll make them up. I'm just kidding.
First, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right, I'll start with an easy one. So
Oh, goodness.
Really easy. So on the one metric, what does ICSE stand for?
It's internal client evaluation. Internal satisfaction client, yeah. Yeah, there you go.
And then, there was a question around the NPS score, and was that for Ryan fully, or are you having an NPS for you?
That's Ryan as a company. Okay. So again, my premise was I didn't want to inappropriately send the message that Ryan as a company wasn't XD, because they totally are. It was really more within my group that we had to change some things to align with the more corporate culture.
And I guess, are there any differences around, is it's more B2B, right? So like how does it Net Promoter work similar for B2B organizations as they do for consumer organizations?
Yes.
Similar questions,
yes.
structures?
Yes.
So how did you prioritize which improvements you would take on first?
Let's see. Well, I wanted to start with the most impactful, so we wanted to answer the phone, that's pretty basic. So, we just prioritized what is their biggest pain point. And, like I said, the service desk was the kind of an easier target because we had rich data sets that we were not leveraging. So, and then we kind of went on the application development side, and those metrics are now stood up. But it was prioritized 2 ways: the greatest return for the company and the users, and what did I have to work with. So
here's another one, right? What software or tool sets are you using to measure that internal experience?
Yes, so our survey is a custom app that we use internally, and we have a few external survey tools that we use as a firm, and we can feed those data sets in. The metrics for actually the calls comes from our phone system, obviously, and then our ticketing tool provides those metrics regarding response time in general for the group. Does that answer the question? Is that okay?
Whoever answered, I don't know.
Okay. If not, come find me. I'll share tools.
Let's see. How often do you have metrics around how often you're interacting with the people that are consuming or using your services?
Do I have metrics around how often?
Like how often your team?
If that is your question, whoever sent it in, feel free to raise your hand. It doesn't have to remain anonymous.
Well, I can say this answer is generic. We look for opportunities based on kind of what the culture committee is doing, and we just always make sure that we participate. This was, in full disclosure, back in the day, we did this at Greyhound when I was at Greyhound, and it was just very successful. People appreciate when you go serve them in an unusual, creative way. So I would say, I'm trying to think if we've got anything planned. I don't have anything planned right now, but we participate. So when the firm is doing something, you will always see IT representation.
How do you cultivate kind of like going out, trying to understand, are your business leaders bought into it? If they weren't as familiar with the concept, like how do they see it? Are they excited about it? Are they?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, kind of at my peer level and really throughout the firm. I mean, they've been very responsive, and more importantly, they've noticed an uptick in what we're able to do for them. So it's about results. I mean, I can dress up like, Captain America every day or whatever, but, if I can't do it, if I don't have any real superpowers, right, that's kind of pointless. So, like I said, you can see it in our survey results, and that's the only true metric. It's the only one I don't control, right? I report my KPIs, I report, my goals, but this third party blinded data, so we are seeing that result.
And is there one in particular that really kind of got the notice of upper management, one that when they see you in the hallways they're like, oh, that thing that you did, was there one in particular? Or?
Yeah, actually I just had a great, because again, this sounds so basic, so I apologize for the basic nature of it, but again, this framework is about, when you're in something new and you've got to unwind something in order to migrate change. We're looking at we recently revamped our senior leadership meeting strategy, which you're like, oh, you need a strategy for meetings, but yes, you do, apparently. And so, kidding. But so we have this framework of these standard meetings, and depending on role, you're required. And one of the things that I didn't, but someone said, and this really should be laptops down. And everybody went, ugh, because sometimes I've heard, could bring some work to that meeting to catch up on. I'm not me, of course, but maybe others. So point being, it was really like, sometimes we may not have the attention span we think we need in this meeting. So our CEO wanted to, someone wrote in, and when I tell you he answers everything, including software vendors, but he will answer any vendor. So we spend a lot of time tracking those down. But someone wrote in, one of the owners of the company, and said, we need something to make sure people are paying attention. So we want to poll them in, kind of a keep alive, hopefully it's not too detailed of a poll, but so he wanted technology to do that. And so, I'm like, okay, so I ping it out to my team and give Lisa credit here. And so she quickly went out, and we just started an Office 365 pilot yesterday. Is it yesterday? Yes, yesterday. So, we want something that goes nicely with. So she quickly researched Microsoft Pulse, and I was able to say, yeah, we're already on it. And he emails me back. I should have put it on the board, but he said, well, my goodness, IT already out in front of what we need. Strike me dead, is what he said. So I was like, yeah, so we're really striving to move into that, not only our base level of support, but kind of in that, we've got a roadmap and a strategy. And when we get there, I met with Brent last Friday, and I said, we're just kind of a pulse checkpoint. And, I was like, I wish I came here 10 years ago. Like I said, hopefully we would have, been in a little better position. But so that's from the man himself, strike him dead. So hopefully.
So since a lot of the KPIs seem to be trending up, is that helping you get kind of greater budgetary support? Or?
Well, one of the great things about Ryan, and it's, like most things in life, the blessing is also kind of the curse. We're a very profitable company, and I've put together kind of my budget and my roadmap, and it's been ratified. So I would say yes, absolutely. And if you'll do what you say you do and have some successes under your belt, you get that trust internally to get those dollars. So absolutely. Obviously your group interviewed kind of internal customers. You're going out there. Did you notice other internal groups, or were they catching the bug? They see you doing it, and then they started doing it as well. So it's something that's now kind of more integrated in your culture. I would say yes. Well, let me back it up a bit. When I showed that first slide of the benchmark, where that we had never even come close to the line, I was like, well, something's wrong. Either the red line is wrong, or we're just doing something completely wrong. But there were other shared services team meeting benchmarks. So I knew it was attainable. I will say, and this, naturally when comp plays a key component in measurements, I would say all teams have a higher incentive to do that. But what you get from that is, those positive results really just drive that energy on your team, and it takes care of itself. Like meeting someone's expectations feels really good, and it makes you want to do that very same that next time, and that very same that next time. So yes, we do see. No one's trick or treating with us yet, but maybe we can expand that. But I would say absolutely, we're more. Visible, maybe some of the other teams as well.
So you mentioned that your team was called NICE. Has that changed yet? Is there a new word that people are using?
Let me think if there's a new word.
That's positive.
Well, there's probably, yeah, I know, right? Yeah, sometimes we still get a few of those. I'm just kidding. I would just say that they have a respect for us now, and they liked us before, but now they have a higher respect of our work. And that's what I more care about, although I still expect my team to be very nice. That's important.
So when you're building out new solutions or launching new solutions, do those teams have their own KPIs? Or is it all tied up to for the IT organization?
Yes. So if I'm interpreting correctly, every department within Ryan has KPIs. I would say when we're delivering solutions, they can come into play if it's applicable, but otherwise it's a little more, I would say, basic XD. What do you need? We really do. We'll go sit with them and observe their current processes, what tools they're using today. We'll hear their ideas, because the beauty in a firm like Ryan is we have a pretty technical user base. So the beauty is they adopt technology really easily, and but they also have high expectations of technology, which is good. So but they'll share us, because they've already met with 4 vendors before bringing it to us usually, and so then we just we partner, and that's where we've made, I would say, the biggest stride, because prior Ryan was very we have a DevOps concept internally, which sometimes can be difficult to wrangle, but if you can learn how to leverage it, it increases the throughput for the firm. So we've been able to demonstrate that you can pull us in to those projects. We can add value. We can add technical lifts for those projects, and so it's kind of it's one thing at a time. Whether they call, whether we're working on a project. So, absolutely.
Someone wrote in the U.S. health care industry, 1% of the population needs 26% of dollars spent. Is there a similar ratio concept in your department?
There is not today. That is not something we.
Someone calls every single day because their password expired. Is
Yeah,
that?
yeah, pretty much the same. You're 80-20. I'm just kidding. 20% of the population. So no, we don't have that today.
I think I went through a lot of them. If I missed one, obviously anyone has a question is able to speak up.
Are you going to rethink the text concept next
Oh,
time?
this is actually kind of, fun. Oh, here we go. Okay. So is your team responsible for delivering solutions for external customers too?
We do have some solutions that our external clients do use. We also have a software division, which I do not manage. We actually sell software as a company, tax software. And that's kind of a long story, but the Cliff Notes version goes, we built it, we sold it, we bought it back. So now they're back. So, yeah.
The tool set that Ryan's customers are using, are you able to apply some of these same kind of methods to them as well?
I would say absolutely, and especially when you get into the UX framework. I mean, you can't confuse them. And when we buy different companies and integrate them in with their tech, it's important. So absolutely.
Okay. Here's one about the time change. So when you changed your team's work hours so they were available, when those high traffic periods,
Yeah.
did you get resistance from them, or how did you kind of ease that transition along?
Absolutely. It was a real, we weren't seen as so nice, internally. And I would say, there's a little, you probably didn't catch on the slide, but we made some changes, and part of that was we made some staffing changes, kind of the old, if you can't change the people, you have to change the people. And again, it's just like, wow, and this is what I really want to make sure, because I'm, much like with the XD, I'm passionate that people really know why we're doing things. It's not because, I said so, who cares about that? It's because that's when they're calling, it's based on a true need. So I've had to say to my team, everyone's old job, including the former CIO's job, wonderful person, but the job that job is no longer here. None of our jobs were here. That's why we're revamping everything. So if someone on my team needed, that for personal reasons, which I really respect, it's just if it fits, I can accommodate, and if it doesn't, so it was painful. And when I say painful, you got the chatter committee and unhappy, and we have, when I tell you Ryan's fanatical about feedback, this is just 4 things I showed you. We have probably 12 feedback loops, and the feedback was coming in within IT. We're not happy. These changes are uncalled for. Blah blah blah. And so it was very, very painful. And ultimately, we steadied on our pace. It's based on what we have to be, and if you don't want to be here, that's cool.
So for the future, your surveys, you're going out, you're interacting with the teams.
Yeah.
Like what would continue to move up that? What's the next thing that your team might tackle?
Yeah. So the next thing that we have on our plate, like everyone, the plate is overrunneth, right? But we have what we call large enterprise initiatives, and these are firm-set projects, and they all 4 involve a huge technology stack. So we're, upgrading our own shop, managing our day-to-day, and we're supporting these very large firm initiatives. So for me, we've got to hit those AI, and they're called annual improvement plans, those AIPs. So we're crystal clear that's our priority. So the next level for us is to help the business be successful on their AIPs. We have our own AIPs, and then as we, the hard part, as everyone knows, is making that transformational level work during, while everything else is still remaining the same. So, gotta be.
I'll probably stop it. That's a lot of questions. Thank you all. That's actually so what's the frequency of the surveys, and did you have to change that over time?
Well, the frequency just changed recently, so it depends on which survey you're talking about, because there's so many. But the internal client survey for our customers, they can go anytime, day or night, if they have a positive experience or a negative experience. Our internal for shared services used to be twice a year, but we recently changed that, and they can go in day or night. So I now get a monthly, which is really helpful. I mean, if I get a report in July for something that happened in February, I'm like, wow, that's terrible. I don't know who you are, so I can't help you really, but I can't do much about it. So it's much more helpful. So we've kind of gone to more of this real-time feedback loop, which is very helpful.
When you first came in, you said the metrics were green across
Yeah.
the board. Were they the wrong metrics? What was going on that made them green, and how did you change that? What was the immediate result of changing?
Well, not unlike how I approached, the survey results. They were green, and then I was like, oh, great, show me the math. So we were.
So
Yeah.
it showed you were doing well, but then you realized, oh, well, this is fuzzy math, isn't right. I
Right.
didn't understand then if it was, they were using the wrong metrics, people were cheating the metrics, what was going on, how did you make the switch to
Yeah, well, it's always, it's a little unfair to judge why, or, maybe they really thought this was how to calculate it. But what we found was that our math was wrong, basically. We were excluding some, like say, network performance, and we were excluding some things that should not typically have been excluded. On the support tickets, when it ran long, we put it in another bucket. It's kind of like, well, that's going to blow the KPI, and it was knocked across the wall. So when we said, oh, no, there's only one bucket. And now in true disclosure, there are, if you've got to order, for, and then that can go in a different bucket, but pretty much like they would get this alert like, warning, oh, let's park it over here. So we had to, that was kind of more that dirty laundry. We're like, oh, now how come? Oh, it's going to blow the KPI. I'm like, wow, okay. So we had to change that. So I would say, validate, what you see, and re-look at the math, because you just never know if it's still current. Because the beauty of today's world is there's so many more new data sets coming. Everything we deliver gives you yet another data set. So you've got to, one, I would encourage you to retire whatever old data set you had or incorporate it in, but keep that review current, or you'll have stale green KPIs.